All right, let's talk a little bit about the NES. So this is my NES, and as you can see, it's the European. It says NES European version. Now, this of course looks very similar to the North American version of this console. The Japanese version of this, the original console that this is based on, the Famicom, looks considerably different. Has a power and a reset button. Yes, we can't discuss the NES without discussing the NES controller. Plugs in that away. So yes, these are known for their legendary build quality. Akin to the old Nokia phones. If you throw this against the wall, it will leave a hole in the wall. Now, this machine, of course, it says European version, but this is not the European version. There were actually two different European versions of the NES, and I'll discuss about that in a little bit. Now, what do you need in order to hook one of these up so that you can play one? And this is what a power brick for one of these consoles looks like. I actually don't want to show the top because there's a little secret I'm hiding for a little surprise here. This is the plug we use over here in Finland. I'm not sure about the voltages. They're obviously this plug is going to look a bit different if you're from North America. Yes, but the cartridges obviously are very similar, regardless of whether you're playing the North American or the European version. You put them in like this. You press down, and then you hit the power button. The power cord, obviously, it plugs in here. How do you then hook it up to the television? Now, there's two different ways you can do. You can hook it up to the television. Now, like it says here, there's an RF switch, and I have long since gotten rid of my RF switch. Basically, it is this horrible little box. A little cord comes in here, and connects to quite a literal box. And what you have to do with that box is that you hook it up to a television antenna cord. Not sure. I keep forgetting. Maybe you call those RF cords. I've always called it the antenna cord. It's basically the cord that sends the television signal to your television. And basically, what it does, it hijacks the television signal. So in the North American versions, for some reason, they always default to channel 3 and 4. In fact, this model even has the channel switch here, which I don't think does anything. My experience has been that you can tune any television channel, especially these days. You can actually tune any of the analog channels to be the console's channel. We usually, I remember we usually would set our consoles to either channel 0 or whatever the highest channel, like it would have been like channel 4, 5, 6, I remember maybe even up to 12. But obviously the more logical and better way to hook up to hook up this thing to the television is using the regular old RCA cords. Now, as you can see, there's only one audio cord, and these, the RCA cords are common as muck. So this only uses mono sound, but it doesn't really matter. My experience is that every television set, if it only has one audio channel going in, it will direct the audio to both speakers. The only real problem with this is that if you're video capturing game footage from this, some software, not all of it, but some software will not recognize that this is a mono channel, but will instead treat it as being either the left or the right. I forget which one the red one is. But that's usually something that you can easily fix. You can easily fix the audio issues with Audacity or whatever. Now, the biggest problem if you're probably buying these consoles online is obviously sometimes, they don't come with all the cords, like, a controller, that's one thing. But this is actually pretty helpful because this is just a universal cord standard. You can just get any RCA cord. But what if you get one of these consoles online and you don't get the power block for it? Well, no worries, because this power block is actually from my Super Nintendo. So yes, the Super Nintendo and the NES use the exact same power block. So if you happen to have a Super Nintendo just lying around, or you're buying these consoles online, or if you're going to get an NES, you might even consider getting a Super Nintendo. you know, just in case one of their power blocks doesn't work properly, they're completely interchangeable. Helpfully, this one only uses a standard RCA cord. Later, starting from the Super Nintendo, Nintendo started using their own proprietary RCA cords. But those also will work on other Nintendo systems. And if I make a video about the Super Nintendo, I'll talk about that. All right, so like I said, if you're going to buy games for this, the one thing that you have to be careful with is the fact that the North American and European NES cartridges will look pretty much identical. Now, there's little things that you can use to deduce which games are American and which ones are Europeans. The easiest way is to always look for the Nintendo Seal of Quality logo there, because this the shape of this will tell you almost instantly whether or not it's a PAL game or a North American game. But for Europeans, there's another thing to keep in mind, and that's the fact that there's actually two different PAL standards. So, and that's the most hardest part. So there's PAL A and PAL B. Now, the good news is the vast majority of the NESs that came out in Europe, that's Western Europe, because obviously this came out in the 80s, so that was the Cold War. So the vast majority of NESs will use PAL B standard, and if you're lucky enough to get an NES game in box, you should look for that letter B. It's usually, sometimes it's on the front. It differs on the packaging. Sometimes it's on the front, sometimes it's in the back. And somewhat unhelpfully in some cases, that letter B is nowhere to be seen. Like, this is my copy of Super Mario Brothers 3. I know this is the PAL B version because it runs on my PAL B NES. But yeah, that's something that you just gotta feel out. Now, where does the PAL A come from, and what countries were unlucky enough to get stuck with it? Well, those were the countries in which Mattel was the importer for the system, so Great Britain and Italy. So in those places, you gotta be a little bit careful. But for the rest, PAL B is what you need and what works with this system. So yeah, that's an NES thing. That's a little bit of an info dump there for you if you're looking to buy one of these systems online. See you on the next one.